All right, welcome back to another episode of Fletch Podcast. Brooks, you say what's up?
What up, everybody?
How you doing, Brooks?
I am good. How are you? This week is a good week so far.
Yeah, I've had a busy last 7 days at work, but other than that, things are all right.
Yeah,
Things are all
Justin
right.
can't find a leak that's in the ground.
Yeah, I don't
Water
know.
leak.
I'll make a long story short. Our irrigation system isn't working, and so we figured out a way for it to tell us how much water we're losing on this leak because the pump, I don't know, things just aren't working. And so it's telling us we're losing 300 gallons per minute, which for those who aren't aware, that's a fuck ton of water to just be losing out, like missing. And so how are we losing 300 gallons per minute and we don't know where it is? Your guess is as good as mine. And so, I don't know, we're exploring all the options, and it requires a lot of digging of holes. So a lot of shovel work and getting muddy. And yeah, 4 of my last 5 work days have been just straight 5 feet in the ground, covered in mud, trying to find a piece of plastic with a hole in it with water coming out of it. And we can't find it. What's the icing on the cake is my bosses have been in the turf industry for a long time, and they are like, we have never seen anything like it. I have never had a leak of this size, allegedly. I don't know, as long as our pumps are right, which they should be. I've never seen a leak this size or a break this size not show itself, and we're going on 7 days of having evidence of this break in the line somewhere. And so, it's a total mystery. We have no clue where it is or how to find it. So we're exploring many, many options. So much fun.
That's a lot of fun. And for those of you who don't know, I mean, I don't really mention it much, but I work for a local water district here in Colorado. And we get call outs from customers saying they have a major leak for 11 gallons a minute. So 300 gallons a minute, you can imagine.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of water.
A lot of our sprinkler heads that break, I could see them being like 11 gallons a minute. Or we can have some that are probably bigger than that, but yes.
Yeah, that's no fun. Do you guys get do you guys get your water from the city, a district?
We're on a well.
Yeah, you guys are on well. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And then I think we pull some water out of the river because we're right there on the river. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Being the guy who's supposed to know what's going on with the irrigation, I don't know everything about it. And so, I'm pretty sure we pull water from the river. We have a well. We've got like 3 pumps, big old giant pumps. Yeah, fun stuff.
That's much fun.
Well, I'm sure the listeners are super intrigued to hear about irrigation in the golf world. So, on that note, we might. Hey, I brought it on myself. We brought it up. Had to talk about it.
We did.
Been weighing on the mind.
Yep.
But
yep.
No, things are good. Legislation has been the big talking point in recent days and weeks and the last month or two, just in general, but also for hunting specific side of things. And I know we've mentioned a few things, but we're going to talk a little bit more about I guess the Colorado legislative stuff more so, and a little bit of the Tennessee. We've kind of hit on those things, but just kind of talk a little bit more about them and maybe get a little bit more in depth because we kind of talked about them, but didn't really dive in. So this is going to be more of a dive in on the legislative side on some of those things. And so that's going to be the main focus. And then, I guess kind of giving us a layout on what the rest of the episode is going to look like. We'll talk a little bit about chronic wasting disease and just the existence in the states that we're in, Tennessee and Colorado, and kind of where we see that going just a little bit. We're going to do a bigger episode on it at some point, probably once we get, I don't know. I know Tennessee is pretty good about they ask their hunters to submit their deer for testing. And so I don't know when their results come back from however many deer get submitted for testing, if those numbers are out already or what. But like I said, we'll dive deeper on that in a later episode, but we'll talk about it. And then the big one, I think, we've kind of sprinkled it in, but access and equity in the outdoors. And so that's a big, broad term, but like I said, it's just kind of this is what you have to look forward to. But no, backtracking, we'll kind of talk a little bit more legislative stuff. Looking at the big one, Colorado kind of keeps finding itself in the limelight, the headlines of conservation and the legislation around conservation of wildlife. And the most recent one that, in broad terms, they're basically saying, and Brooks can elaborate a little bit more on the verbiage and things like that, but they're basically deprioritizing hunting and fishing as the primary wildlife management method. So, how are we going to manage those other than just the circle of life? I don't know, but Brooks, any opening comments on said legislation?
It's more BS. Again, right? Yeah. That's just like, you're telling me that that for some reason hunting that's not how you're supposed to manage wildlife. I think every hunter would disagree on that. Every smart human would agree on that. There's a lot of dumb ones out there. I don't really care if you get offended by that, but so essentially what's going on right now is House Bill 25-1258, and essentially saying scientific wildlife management. This is for or title scientific wildlife management. This was introduced in February of 2025, so last month. So pretty much it proposes amending Colorado's wildlife statuses, which currently mandate hunting, trapping, and fishing as the primary methods for managing wildlife harvest. Done that for years. Wildlife I think Colorado still has the biggest elk herd in the nation, or at least the biggest or the most amount of elk in the nation, I should say. I should say herd, but still the most in the state. Our elk population is still insane. It now, does it need to recover a little bit? Yes. So I think they're going to, I think by 2028, I feel like it's going to go to a draw for everybody, at least for the time being. So I think OTC is on the way out, unfortunately. I think from what I've been reading, it'll come back. It's just getting that, getting the population just kind of built back up a little bit. Just because Colorado has always been the OTC state for the longest time. Everyone's pretty much what do you call it? Second thought, if I don't draw here in Wyoming, I'll just go down to Colorado, grab a tag, and just hunt public land.
Backup plan.
Which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But obviously, as most of you know, Colorado got rid of the non-resident over-the-counter license for elk. Mm-hmm. So that's out, and I'm sure probably by 2028, 2029, whenever the new cycle of wildlife management comes out, my guess is we'll probably lose OTC. I could be completely wrong. I hope I'm completely wrong. It'd be great if maybe in the next 4 years that we see elk population improvements. That way we don't get rid of the resident OTC. We'll see, though.
That would be really unfortunate if that happened.
It really would be. Because, I mean, I understand non-resident just because it's okay, let's give back to our residents who actually care about the state and everything, and let the non-resident draw. Because no matter where if I wanted to go to Montana, Wyoming, Utah, I think Utah's got some OTC units still. Actually, I have to look. Or Idaho, you have to draw, I believe, for out of state.
Yeah.
So, but
Well,
anyways,
that's how
so
like Kansas, the way Kansas deer, not just whitetail deer and mule deer, the way deer were. Well, I guess I don't know per se about mule deer, but I know whitetail for Kansas. If you're a non-resident, you have to draw. If you're a resident, you get over-the-counter tags. And so, you know, that's not an unheard of method that Colorado's going to. There's a lot of states that just have just straight up over-the-counter everything, especially for deer. You know, their numbers are so big. Like Tennessee, you can be a non-resident and you can just buy the same tag, basically the deer tag as a resident, obviously at a higher rate, but it's the same exact thing, and you have access to the same stuff. And there are certain things that you can apply for, like quota hunts and other special draw units and things like that, but you can have over the counter for whitetail the same as a resident. I believe Louisiana was the same way. I was only there for one hunting season in Louisiana, but that's just to say, as examples, over the counter for non-residents still exists for other species in other states where population maybe is booming for a certain species. And so, like Brooks is saying, the population, especially when we're talking about elk, the population is not as abundant. And so, looking at those numbers, that's why they've adapted to the over-the-counter for residents and no over-the-counter for non-residents. It has to be draw only for non-residents.
Yep. Which it'll be interesting to see how the next few years goes with that. So,
yeah. And, the one point that I didn't really think about too much, this proposed legislation, this proposed bill that Colorado has put out there, deprioritizing hunting and fishing as the primary management tool for wildlife management. When you talk about that, I still wonder, where are they going to make their change? Like, what is going to change? What is going to become the primary management tool? Because you can let nature run its course, and maybe it does revert things back. But when you look at that and you say, okay, we're just not going to. Maybe you say, okay, we're not going to allow hunting as much, or we're not going to give out as many tags for certain big game species, and we're going to limit the number of fish you can catch, your daily limit of catch for fish. We're going to cut that or we're going to cut it all in half so that we can say, okay, we're not managing this by fishing, we're managing it another way. And so by doing that, we have to cut back on the number of fish you're allowed to catch. Well, that's hypothetical. I'm not saying that's what it's going to be. But, when you're talking about those things, now you're going to talk about funding coming from license sales, permit sales, and all that good stuff. Your funding is going to go down if you're going to take hunting away, more or less. I'm not saying they're banning hunting, but they're going to limit the amount of hunting and the amount of hunters and anglers. Like, you're going to limit the number of people that are doing it. You're going to limit the amount of money that you're producing, or the amount of income you're receiving from those things. And, that's a nationwide thing. The Pittman-Robertson Act, a portion of every sale of hunting and fishing equipment and tags, licenses, fees, a portion of all those things go back to the wildlife conservation. And so it's like, yeah, you still get some of that stuff, but it's not nearly the same. And maybe they look at adjusting the rates on like Pittman-Robertson and things like that to counter whatever decision they make. I feel like that would have to be something federal if they were going to tinker with those numbers and stuff. I feel like that would have to be something federal, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. That's a good question. It's going to be kind of interesting. Like, I think this bill is still for like just proposed, so like nothing, like obviously there's like an actual bill for it, but they're trying to push it through, kind of like what they're doing with Senate Bill 3 with banning pretty much every firearm known to man here in the state of Colorado.
Yeah, I mean they're all profit or
So
proposed bills, but they're not. I don't know, it just seems like there's not a whole lot of common sense going into what has been proposed.
no, I mean there's really not. It's just at the end of the day, it looks like it's just these left leaning groups who are trying to do anything in their power to pretty much just force you to do what they say, no matter what. Like, no, you have to buy your food from the grocery store. You're not allowed to hunt it. Like, how dare you? Why would you kill this cute little elk? Why would you kill this majestic creature? Why would you want to kill this moose? How dare you? You're such a bad person. Shut up. Like, golly. Like, these people are so disconnected from reality. Dude, they have no idea where their food comes from. Zero clue. They think they go to the store and the food just magically appears. Like, oh my God, beef and bison and pork. And oh my God, oh, look at all this. They have zero clue. And it drives me up a tree. And I mean, thank gosh, like Proposition 127 didn't pass last year. But I mean, it only passed by 10% or 10 points, whatever you want to call it. So you know they're gonna just keep hammering and hammering, and Denver's just, and it's Denver Boulder. That's it.
Yeah,
I mean, a little
which
bit
when
of
you
Fort
look at those
Collins.
demographics, it's a lot of vegan and vegetarian and those
Well,
like people of that lifestyle that live in those areas that are pushing the idea where, like you're saying, they're saying, oh, save the animals, don't kill the animals. Like, why would you eat the animals? Because they have that diet. And so they're saying, well, you can get all the benefits you get from meat and protein, so on, vitamins, so on and so forth. You can get that from other sources. You don't need to do it through meat. But, that they're just pushing again, like you were saying, kind of pushing their agenda, their ideology down, like down your throat, essentially, and forcing you at a certain point by doing it through legislation, which is wild.
it's wild. And do they not understand, like, if you're an actual like vegetarian, that like you're killing more animals being a vegetarian than you are a carnivore. It They don't understand that. They think like, oh, we go pick these little plants and it's okay. You're killing a bunch of animals, just FYI. Like, oh, and it's funny because like this has been said a lot lately, and I know Yellowstone and those shows are very, like, I know it's a fictional show. I understand that, but there is a lot of truth in those shows, in that show too. And I think like what John Dutton said to those protesters in that one episode about pretty much the same thing we said, like, oh, like these are vegans, or like don't eat meat, blah blah blah. And essentially he told them, like, doesn't matter what you do, like, if you pretty much every life, you have to take another life for a life when it comes to eating.
Yeah.
And that's the only way to survive on this world. Like, sorry, that's just reality. Like,
Yeah.
do you think it blows my mind. Do you think like these guys back in the day thought like so I recently watched 1883. These immigrants, they're going on the Oregon Trail. They're trying to get from Texas to Oregon. Now, I know the Oregon Trail's from Missouri to Oregon. I get that, but they kind of like cut through or whatever. And do you think I mean, obviously that's a fictional show, but this was real life stuff that these people had to deal with back in the day. Do you really think they gave a shit about killing an animal? No, they wanted to survive. That's all we're doing on this planet in reality, is we're like, We just need to figure out how to survive. And people have gotten so comfortable with this, like these luxury and lavish lifestyles, they have completely forgotten where their food comes from.
Nice. Yeah, it's like the big point is like when you're farming, when you till up the ground, like you're killing critters and things like that, and you're taking resources from one thing, and to enhance yours, you're taking resources from another living creature that needs that same thing that you just destroyed to make yours better.
Exactly.
And so, the give and take people don't realize, and I just keep going back to, I just don't see where, and again, I'm not a biologist, I haven't done extensive research, I just don't see where they can take the way that wildlife is being managed now and get rid of that, or put that on the back burner. I'm not saying they're going to get rid of hunting. Obviously, we know that that's been their goal, because they want to get rid of hunting on certain things, X, Y, and Z, to, climb the ladder to eventually get rid of all of it. That's
right.
The end
Slowly
goal.
But surely.
Right. That's the end goal, probably. Not even probably. That is the end goal. But, like, where are they going to pull a resource? What resource are they going to use to make as their primary tool for managing wildlife population? Like, I just don't know what else are you going to do? Are you going to just say, we're not going to allow hunting and fishing, and they're just going to make it like government contracted, where it's like, okay, hire parks and wildlife officers where their only job is to go out and, track herds of elk or deer or whatever, and just be like, okay, we have this, we did a census, we have this population of this animal, we want it to grow. In order for it to grow, we have to harvest this many animals, and okay, now it's all hired through the state. But that's still hunting, but it's not public hunting. And so I don't understand, where they think the wildlife management is actually going to come in outside of hunting and fishing.
So I'm on Grok right now, and it says supporters of the bill, though less vocal and available sources, appear to align with animal rights or ecological advocacy perspectives. Jeez. Sorry, I need glasses. Ecological advocacy perspectives, suggesting that hunting and fishing may not always be the most humane or effective management tool in a modern context. They might argue that alternative methods like non-lethal population control or habitat management could reflect evolving scientific understanding, though specific evidence or proponents' positions are not well documented in current discourse. So they're just trying to see if this would work, this would pass. They really have no idea what they're doing. They have no solution for it, and they're just trying to make hunting go away. That's essentially just the end goal. They're slowly they're like, okay, so we can't say I'm assuming that their thought process right now is like, okay, well, we tried the ballot initiative for Proposition 127, it failed. How about we slowly start taking stuff away and see if that works? But I think hunters here in Colorado after the 127 debacle, I think hunters now in Colorado are like, okay, we've woken up. Like, you're not gonna just,
we're under fire. We need to do something about this. We're under attack.
Yeah,
have to defend our lifestyle. Yeah. So
I too
used Grok here to look at things up. What were you gonna say? You're gonna say
nothing. You're good. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I also used Grok, and I just asked it, name me a few ways that that they could possibly, instead of using hunting and fishing to manage wildlife, what are some other ways? And habitat management, so essentially the way it's reading out, you would do controlled burns and just destroy, basically force wildlife to relocate to a different area. And, if some animals die, some animals die. If you young calf elk get caught up in the fire, they don't make it out. Well, that helps with our population control. And they
we're gonna
destroy a habitat,
destroy-
so they move somewhere else.
So they're going to destroy the habitat, destroy the mountains in the process, just
That's a
because they want to
potential.
control the population.
I would say that would probably be low on the list of like maybe more towards like last resort. But again, relocation. So, they obviously did it with the wolves and reintroduction, but they can trap and herd whatever these wild animals. I would say with elk, it'd probably be like herding like you would with cattle and try to take some method, whether you take ranchers or whatever, hired help, and you just guide them and herd them through the mountains to a different area and get them to a different area so that, get them out of Colorado because Colorado has too many, move them to Utah, Nevada, you're not jumping borders to Nevada, but New Mexico, Wyoming, what have you. Like talking elk, push them out somehow. Or if there's a way to trap them in mass numbers and put them up on a freaking big rig, big truck and get them loaded into a trailer and move them to a different state, I guess maybe that's another way. Just saying, okay, we have too many, let's load some up and get them out. I don't know. And then the other one that, we kind of forget that we always bring it up, but forget that this is maybe what they're trying to do. Also, predator management. So they introduced wolves, and they also tried to pass no hunting of mountain lions, bobcats, so on.
Right.
And reintroducing more wolves and making their predator population stronger in order to, manage the wildlife population, predator to prey, take those prey animals down by introducing more and more predators. Okay, well, that's another possibility that, instead of humans hunting, they're just allowing animals to hunt. And, I said it earlier, it's just like enhance the circle of life, let the circle of life take over. But, you're still having to have some influence. You're playing God on it a little too much still by saying, okay, there's not enough predators. We need to put in more predators so that they can control the population better so that we don't need as many hunters to do that same job.
Well, if there's a ton of predators out there, well, it'll make people less likely to want to go to the mountains too and hunt.
Yeah.
And fish.
More mountain lions, more wolves, feel the threat of being attacked.
Yeah. Like, because
obviously that brings a whole nother slate of issues, they already have issues with wolves killing livestock, cattle, not elk, cattle, and calves from cattle. You're just asking for more of those issues. Point blank, that's just what you're asking for, that issue to become exponentially bigger, and you're going to find a lot more issues that maybe aren't present now that would become present if that becomes the case.
Yeah. Well, people also need to realize wolves kill for fun. They don't they kill to eat. They obviously need to eat, but they literally kill for fun.
Yeah.
It's a freaking hobby to them.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously we've made our point, our stance on it pretty clear. Like we're not for it. We hope that doesn't move into the next stage of, becoming an actual bill, an actual proposed thing that people can vote on. We hope it gets axed somewhere sooner than later, obviously, but somewhere along the lines before it gets to the point of people actually voting on it and passing something to that effect.
Yeah.
No, I think, moving on, I guess, to the next topic, I think that kind of wraps it up, unless you have any closing thoughts on Colorado legislation.
They're just, my last thing, it's just sad to see what they're doing to this state. And,
yeah.
But, I will say there's a lot of people fighting it, so that's good at the very least. I still have some hope for this state.
Yeah.
Not much, but hope. I still have some. I'm still optimistic. So I think it's just at this point it's gonna take the Democrats to keep just showing their cards more and more for people just to kind of wake up and realize here that, okay, these guys are insane. Like legit insane.
Oh.
Like they're so far left that they're insane. So we'll see. If not, I mean, I don't want to move out of Colorado, but if I have to, I have to. So
Right. Scary times over there.
yep. So anyways, let's move on. What
Yeah.
else we got?
Moving on. I mentioned it talking about the Colorado thing. Tennessee, trying to boost their funding, and we talked about it with Tanner as well. The new proposed adding of a fee or a license that you can purchase to bait and hunt over bait in the state of Tennessee on private land. They're trying to find all sorts of way to improve funding for the state and their wildlife and TWRA and things like that. And so, I really hope, I'm okay with it. And I keep staying in these Facebook groups because I find it interesting to see other people's point of views because they bring these things up fairly often. And, from what I've seen, a lot of people are saying, okay, great. There's going to be a lot of people that do hop on. And kind of like we had talked and said the same thing, but it's like the people that broke the law before and hunted over bait are going to be a little bit pissed because, their advantage is now gone. And there's going to be some people that are going to follow. There's going to be a lot more people that follow the rules than don't. And that's kind of the way the world works in general. But I would say it's probably even more evident in the hunting world. But, I think it's going to be really good. That I would hope that one passes because just the prospective or potential boost in the funding is pretty significant. We're talking $3 to $4 million just from that alone in a boost. I mean, because that's what Alabama has seen over the last couple of years since they've introduced this bill, which is basically
I didn't know
copying.
Alabama did.
Yeah, so Tennessee basically copied and pasted the same exact bill and saying, okay, private landowners can purchase this license, and with this license, they're able to bait and hunt over that bait during the deer season, turkey season, whatever. They can hunt game over a pile of bait or over a feed or what have you. And so Alabama, I think over the last couple of years has averaged somewhere between $3 and $4 million per year just from this license alone. And so, that's a lot of money that can go to a lot of different places. And we make gripes about it all the time. There's a ton of trash on public lands here, especially the ones that we hunt. There's just a ton of trash. And I get it. We're on a lake and people out that aren't just hunters. Like there's people that just go out to party on the boats and, they throw trash in the water and they don't realize it floats or comes to shore somehow. And then, we get a ton of rain and the lake floods a little bit, pushes up. And then all of a sudden it's like we just have washouts of trash all the way through the woods. And it happens. It shouldn't happen, but things like that can be improved with better funding. And so I think it's a good step in the right direction. I would love to see, more ideas along those lines for more hunters to be like, okay, buy this small license, $10 a person, and it helps you with something. I don't know what it is, but if there was something where, I wouldn't mind $10 coming out of my pocket to go towards whatever additional to be like, okay, as long as I know something's actually getting done with this money, and it's like, and everybody's buying it, by all means, let's do it. Because if that means another additional $1 million, $2 million per year to go towards something good, I would want to see that. But I just don't know what that thing would be. The bait thing is, I think, it's a good thing that we didn't have that we can have that would help, but I don't know.
Right.
Do you have any funding boost ideas, Brooks?
Well, I'll say this. One side of me says, it's my land, I should do whatever the heck I want. Another side of me understands that this will bring in more funding for wildlife management. So I see both sides. Obviously, I don't live in Tennessee, but it's great to see that Tennessee actually gives a crap about their hunters. They're like, please kill these deer. Essentially, your guys' deer population's insane. I'll say this. Do you think they want to, because there's such a big deer you guys have such a big deer population, do you think at this point they're like, screw it, you guys can hunt over bait, please, we need to like get this population down type of thing?
I think there is a portion of it that is, one side of the argument would say yes, for sure. The population's too big. It's absurd that certain units in the state, I mean, it's not the whole state, but there's certain units in the state. The unit we're in particularly, you can kill 3 does per day the whole season.
No.
And so and it's not just, okay, you can kill your 3 does today and you're done for the year. Like 3 today, 3 tomorrow. If you happen to have that many deer in an area that you're hunting, by all means, go do it.
If you do that, you better go buy a lottery ticket.
Right. But yeah, I mean, yes, I do think that is a part of it, is they want the population to come down, and then they also want to, it's kind of twofold on that side of it. And I know there's probably other angles that you can take on it too, but we want more money. How are we going to get more money? Allow people to bait and hunt over bait. How are we going to limit our population? Get these deer consolidated in an area and have hunters, get down to business and try to limit this population. And so, I think that those are two strong points that can be made in favor. We've talked about the negatives with that one bill in particular, where, they say that there's some science to prove that when you bait in an area, disease increases, which I don't know how true that is, but I would say that there's more pros than cons in that scenario.
Yeah, I would say so as well. The more I kind of thought about it or think about it, yeah, I mean, I would agree. There's definitely more pros. Sorry, I had to cut my audio. My dog was freaking out.
You're good. But no, I mean, and I keep thinking about so they upped the license fees, which I think it's crazy that the state or the general population, when I'm looking in these Facebook groups, they're crying about these increases. Okay, I kind of complained about, okay, they bumped prices up. What the heck? It kind of sucks. But in broad scheme of things, the bumps are not that significant. Yes, it's more money. We hate to have to spend more money year after year after year, more and more and more. But again, that money is supposed to be going to a good place, and we're supposed to be seeing benefits out of it. And I think that's part of why people are upset, is because, there's a lot of things that aren't getting done that need to be, as far as, there's not, like Tanner said, there's not really a huge presence of TWRA. They're not super well respected, because they're like, well, they're either here to bust you or they're not around at all. Like, they're not here controlling things. They're just here because you did something bad, or they're not here at all. And so, and they're here because they know you did it, or they don't know anything. And so I think people want to see some improvement on that side of things. And that's why they want to complain, because it's like, Well, where's my money going anyways? We're not getting the benefits that we're supposed to be getting out of it. Well, I think it takes one good push to say, okay, here is more money. Use it. Use it right. Use it in the best ways you can think of for 2 years, 3 years. Prove to your hunters and anglers, their people, your taxpayers, whatever, all those people that are giving you money, prove to them that their money's going to the right place, and you can justify these increases in licenses and fees and adding new fees and licenses and things like that, these are all for the right reasons, not just because we want to charge you more money. Because I feel like that's, in general, the sense that people are having is like, well, they're just charging us more because they feel like they can get away with it. There is some of that. I totally feel that. But, as soon as we start seeing the benefits, then it'll be like, okay, I get it. I understand now why. But like I said, we just need one really good push, I think, over here of this is where your money has been going, and we want to do more of it, but we still need more. And this is why we're doing what we're doing. Yeah. So I think the hunting side of it, hunting over bait piles and things like that, is a good one. I'm trying to think of like a way for like turkey hunting, or turkey, you can do the same. You can say the same thing, hunting over bait, but fishing or duck hunting, or I'm not super familiar with certain regulations when it comes to bear, but we have some bear hunting in the state, so there's things with that. There's some special draw elk units and stuff like that, but
right.
I don't know.
I feel like elk probably wouldn't, since there's so little of them there.
Yeah, right. No, and every state does it. The non-resident fee is pretty significantly higher than the resident fee, and Colorado has now done away with over the counter for non-residents, and maybe that's something that Tennessee can look at. Is we have it nice. We have it good for hunters where you can just buy over the counter and you can get $2 and 3 does a day, or depending on what unit, you can get your $2 and 3 does on a year, or 2 does, depending on, like I said, depending on what unit you're talking. But maybe we adjust some things for non-residents, and not so much to the point where we lose out on the number per se, or maybe what we do lose, we actually make up more ground because the fees become a little bit more, and we actually make more money off of it, even though we have less hunters. Then I don't know. There's a cause and effect to everything. If you decrease the number of hunters, your population has a chance of increasing, and then you increase your hunters too much, your population goes down. It's like, what's the best thing to do? Who knows? But I don't know. I just don't know what the another thing, because I really do think that this is one of the better things that they could propose. I would really love to see something else like it, to say, okay, right, this year, let's pass this one. Let's see the benefits it brings us. Next year, 2 years down the line, what's the other thing that we could do? Because, if we can keep the ball rolling on good idea after good idea, eventually they're going to find, those 2 or 3 things that are going to be year in, year out. People are going to buy it, and they're going to bitch a little bit less about it, and it's going to be really good. So, I don't know. Funding's always going to be the same for these entities. It's just a matter of how are you going to come up with the best ideas to make the most amount of people happy. You're going to piss people off, but how are you going to piss off less people one way over another?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm eating.
No, you're good.
Yeah, that's all. That's always the tough part, because you're never going to win over everybody, no matter what.
Yeah. You can never make everybody happy. If you do, you probably did the wrong thing.
Probably. More than likely. So
if everybody's happy, somebody fucked up.
yeah. Well, especially in this political climate right now, where it's pretty half and half at the moment. I think I think people are starting to lean more right as of recent because of how everything the last 4 years went. But who's to say that Trump completely screws things up? You never know. We hope he doesn't. But we'll see. That's my little political talk for the day. But but yeah, it's just you can't make everyone happy. It's just part of life, and hopefully they figure out something that's at least makes the majority happy, and then just kind of just go with it. So
Exactly. Well, next point we wanted to talk about, and we'll get to our last one. Like I said, we're going to kind of graze over it a little bit. Chronic wasting disease. Mentioned it, and not really mentioned it, but talking about baiting, you can increase the amount of disease. I don't know. I kind of look forward to seeing the final numbers for not only Tennessee, but just kind of the U.S., Colorado, and stuff like that. When it comes to deer and elk, and seeing how much the CWD has taken a toll on population, or how widespread it really was this year. And so, like I said, Tennessee, they really pushed for everybody to, you harvest a deer, go get it tested. Doesn't matter, go get it tested. And, last year they had like a reward-based system of earn a buck. So you go in and you submit a deer, and I believe, like, I forget if it was like, if you submit a certain number of deer, or if you submit like a positive or two deer with positive CWD, you get a buck back. Like you get an additional buck tag because you submitted. I don't know. I think that's a good way of doing it, and I think there should be some sort of reward system for that as well, just to be like, hey, test, because we need the science on that, and just to figure out, some people are even saying CWD is kind of like a hoax, because not really a hoax per se, because you can see when a deer has CWD and they're sick, but it's like, okay, people who have eaten deer or elk or whatever animals that have CWD, and they haven't had nothing happen to them. Nobody's died from eating enough infected deer or elk. So what's the big deal? Like, it's sketchy. Don't get me wrong, because like, you don't want to eat a bird that had bird flu, but because you will get sick, and that's like proven. But when it comes to deer and elk, what's the negative of eating a deer with CWD? I don't know. We don't know. Other than it just sounds scary, eating an animal that had some sort of disease. So, you had mentioned you need to do some more research. What are your thoughts on CWD in Colorado?
So I looked it up on Grok, and apparently it's pretty widespread here in Colorado. Says, let's see, CPW reports as of early 2025, it's been detected in 42 of 54 deer herds, 17 of 42 elk herds, and 2 of 9 moose herds. The prevalence varies by region, with some areas showing infection rates exceeding 25% in male deer, such as the White River herd in northwest Colorado. Bucks are typically twice as likely to get infected than does, likely due to their social behavior and moving patterns. The disease spreads through direct contact, saliva, urine, feces, and environmental contamination. As I think it's called prions, can persist in soil for years. So, I mean, I guess that's one thing I've really never looked into is the CWD. But I'd have to do more research about just, I guess, eating an animal that had it or has it. Sounds like it's not a big deal for humans, but also still a risk.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
You're eating a deer, or you're eating a creature that had a disease, like a labeled disease with a name, not just like, this thing just kind of looks funky. I don't know. Smells kind of weird, but it tastes great. All right, we're good to go.
right.
No, there's like it's got a labeled disease, and we're eating it. Like, if you know and you still eat it, it's like, hey man, you're braver than some. But from what I've researched, if I knew it had it, I would still eat it. But that's just me. You know, maybe you, instead of eating it medium rare, you cook it to medium, and or maybe closer to well done, and just kind of chew it out, but cook out whatever's in there. But I don't, for like I said, there's nobody that's really gotten sick or especially died from eating an animal with CWD. So
it's good to know.
Yeah. Now, like I said, this is a topic that just kind of wanted to talk briefly about, but we might have like a full on episode of talking CWD, just because, Tennessee has adjusted how they go about it. They had a CWD unit because apparently the spread of it had gotten so bad in certain units that they designated them as CWD units, and they got rid of that this year. But things change, and so it would be interesting to dive deeper into it, talking about, like you said, you got deer, elk, and moose up there that all can have this disease, and here it's pretty much just deer. So just talking about where things are with it in the state, how the states are testing for it, what they're going to do about it, what they plan to do about it, what effects it has on humans. I think that'd be a really good episode for that. Hopefully we can fill an hour. If not, so be it. But I think we could find a way to fill a full episode just talking CWD. So
I'm down. I'll do some more research on it.
Yeah, we'll throw that in the old notes. Let us know, listeners. Let us know in the comments if there's anything you want to hear on CWD, especially as it pertains to Colorado and Tennessee, or if you want us to talk about some other states, because obviously we can do some research and figure out. Because I know that there's states that are more impacted than others, and so we'd love to hear some listener thoughts, listener feedback on that.
Or if there's any other topics you guys want us to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. So, there was one more, and I don't know. It's something that we could definitely dive deeper in as well, and have a full episode on it. And I was thinking maybe we'd have a little bit more time towards the end to talk about it, but I think we might push it back. We'll talk about it briefly, but we'll dive in deeper. But talking about access and equity in the outdoors. And preface, this is not DEI of the outdoors. This is not diversity, equity, and inclusion. Maybe a little bit along those lines, but it is, access for all hunters and equal opportunities for all hunters. And so that's talking not just male, female, skin color, religion, things like that, but, physical access as far as, people with handicaps, people that use wheelchairs and things like that. Tennessee, Louisiana, when I was there, they had a lot of units that were wheelchair accessible for hunters. And so those were on like a reservation type system where, all you had to do, from my understanding, all you had to do was you had to go in and just say, hey, I am handicapped, or I'm with somebody who is handicapped. They use a wheelchair, and we would like to reserve this blind or this section, and you can reserve it. Now, granted, it's certain dates and times of the year and things like that, but that was on public land. It wasn't just on private land. And I feel like there's a lot of states that don't really have something like that, and they kind of rely on ranches or people with private ground to have those types of opportunities for, especially for people with handicaps. But yeah, I think that's something like that's pretty cool. And equity, I think it's growing generally speaking, in the whole outdoors industry. More and more women are becoming involved in it as well. And so I think that's really fun to
There's a lot of
see.
one.
Yeah, I think it's really fun to see that it's not just a bunch of cavemen out there thumping their chests and carrying a club, whacking deer and elk around. It's fun to
Call
see
me a
that there's
caveman?
yes, you of all people, caveman Brooke. But no, it's fun to see that there's more than just a bunch of bearded white dudes out in the field.
Yeah, for real though.
Not talking about anybody in particular.
Not at all. Fair.
But no, I think that's something that we could definitely dig deeper on too. Is just talking about how hunting, fishing, outdoors is definitely spreading outside of its or like main scope, especially more in recent years. So,
Yeah.
like I said, that's something we'll dive deeper in on that one later. But anywho, I don't know. We're kind of getting to that point, Brooksy.
I think so. I thought it was a good episode. So
Yeah, so I
more
mean,
legislative talk.
yeah, it's something where you can just talk about it all day, every day, and you're gonna make the same points, but it's still kind of fun to talk about because the more you talk about it, the more you're gonna find maybe a different thought process and be like, oh, I didn't think about this idea. Like tonight when I was talking about, okay, when they're saying they're taking hunting and fishing out of it as the primary method, how are they going to do it? Well, okay, yeah, think about it for half a second. There's a lot of different ways. And so, find different ways to be like, oh, this is an angle that one side could take. How do you refute that? Like, how do you have a rebuttal for that? We could talk about it until we're blue in the face and it might sound like we're repeating ourselves, but these are things that are important because they are a threat to a lifestyle, our lifestyle that we love and a lot of people like us love, and we don't want to lose those things.
Yes, to kind of back you up there. Yeah, we can go about this stuff all day.
Yeah.
And now, just Colorado, man. What a shit show.
Yeah.
It's I'm optimistic, but we'll see.
Yeah. No, I mean, since the 127 passed last year,
did not pass.
Or did not pass since the bill did not. Yeah, the bill did not pass. Hunters succeeded in 127. I guess is what I was trying to say. I would say that there is hope. Yeah, I would say that there's hope moving forward. That maybe that was a close enough call for them to be like, hey, maybe we do need to pay more attention, spread the word a little bit better. Even though we succeeded in this one, or we came out on top, there's going to be another wave, and then another wave, and another wave.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know, just getting the word out there and highlighting all these things that are like, hey, this is what could happen if this thing passes, or if that thing passes, or if this thing passes, then that thing could happen. So, it's fun to, like I said, it's fun to talk about, but it's also good to talk about because it brings up these new thought processes and avenues that these things can take and branch off, and what side effects those could then have. So,
right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So, well, Brooks, looking forward to the next couple weeks. It sounds like we have maybe some potential guests getting lined up a little bit.
Yep, some potential guests. Maybe we'll get that confirmed.
Yeah, we got possibly two that we can get hammered out and get them on here, and hopefully some good things in the works coming from it. So, I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. more likely than not that we will have some good news in the near future and some awesome guests. So I don't know, any closing thoughts there, Brooks? Have you shot your bow lately?
Last time I shot was Saturday.
Okay.
And I got very unlucky with arrows. I was shooting fine, but I kept hitting the damn metal freaking pole in the damn 3D targets. I lost like 3 arrows. I was like, come on, man.
We gotta work on that, Brooks.
I should say lose, but like they busted.
Yeah.
Broke. Yeah.
I know a guy.
But yep. Also,
get that paycheck in.
Yeah, Saturday. I'll send you money. Yeah, I thought I was gonna be able to pay for it last week, but then a lot of other bills just came right in and rent came in. And I was like, I gotta wait.
Damn it.
I kind of got ahead. I bought a couple things I shouldn't have bought, but oh well.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's okay. But guess who is getting his eyes checked tomorrow? This guy.
Hopefully,
guess who might be starting to shoot better? The animals are done for.
Oh man, it's crazy how much you need your eyes and how important they really are. I am blessed. I have I would say they're starting to decline a little bit, but I'm very blessed with very high quality vision. I was blessed
lucky.
with that. Yeah.
I was doing well for a while, then all of a sudden it just started. I was like, what the heck? I tried
My wife is
deny
blind
it for
as
the
a
longest
bat.
time.
Watching her struggle with all of her vision problems, I'm like, I am so thankful I don't have any of that right now.
Yeah, it's
obviously things can change, but right now, blessed.
Yeah, keep being thankful. That's all. You got any closing thoughts?
No, we'll wrap it up. We'll thank the listeners for watching and listening, and we'll tell the listeners, hey, maybe you should go and leave a like, leave a comment. Definitely you should subscribe so that you are caught up on all the episodes. So that, and maybe on YouTube you can hit the bell. There's a little bell. Hit that guy, and it'll tell you whenever we post. I don't know if Spotify or any of those guys have it, but if they do, you should do that too. Just so that
if you can follow, you will get notifications.
Yeah, follow them. You get notified. Follow us. You get notified. I was really bad about finishing some edits this week, but I promise I will get them done and uploaded. And yeah, so then you can enjoy all that we have to offer in the podcast world. Appreciate you guys listening. Yeah. We'll catch you guys on the next one. See you.
See you guys.